which is the first slide of this presentation. So I think we are good to get started. As we go, also feel free to chime in either over the line, or you can send us a chat and we can either jump back a slide to address a question, or sort of stay put and take a look in Portfolio Manager on any of these slides. So with that, we just gave some great introductions and got a sense of who's on the line and what we're looking to accomplish here. This is the third multifamily webinar for the Better Buildings Challenge. The first one is available at this link here, and I believe the second one is at that link as well. Is that right, Todd?
Yeah, I think so. It's we're still getting it up, but it should be up shortly.
But that'll be the link to go to listen to the past two if you weren't able to join those. As I said, you can type your questions in or stop us as we go through the phone. We wanted to remind everyone that there are resources available to multifamily partners in the Better Buildings Challenge through HUD, and ICF is offering direct technical assistance for the data portion of the challenge. And lastly, we want to encourage peer exchange both on this call and throughout the challenge. So if anybody wants to share some successes that they've had with their multifamily data, either with Portfolio Manager or outside Portfolio Manager, we definitely want to hear from you. So today we're going to go through some slides, mainly some screenshots from Portfolio Manager, so that when we're done here, we can share these slides back to you, and you can have a reference point for what we were talking about with Portfolio Manager. So the first thing we're going to do is click into an individual property and try to figure out what's causing some of the errors. Either you're not seeing an energy use intensity, you thought you'd have an Energy Star score, but you don't. So a couple things like that. Then we're going to pull a report from Portfolio Manager that gives us information for all of our properties at once. And then from that report, we're able to go back into our properties and correct some of the errors, or add some data that the Portfolio Manager report told us that we were missing. Sorry about that. So good reminder as we go. We will hear everybody's hold music. This slide that we're looking at now is, we showed this in the last webinar, but basically just an overview of what Portfolio Manager is looking for. For the challenge, what we're looking for is complete energy data and property square footage. And from that, we'll be able to calculate an energy use intensity and compare all of your multifamily properties. So we can skim over that one. All right, so this is really what we wanted to focus on today. This is actually four screenshots from Portfolio Manager. It's kind of messy, kind of hard to follow. But what I'm trying to show here is 4 different places within Portfolio Manager where you might get alerted that there's an error or an issue with your data. The first one in the top left here, I think everyone can see my mouse. This is going to be on the profile page for each of your properties. If you're seeing an NA in the baseline, that means that some part of your baseline has not been completed. And basically in all of these places, the NAs and the not availables, those are actually links that are there to give you more information and to help you. So what this red circle and arrow means is if I was to click on that NA, I would get this alert from Portfolio Manager, and that definitely comes in handy. This third screenshot, or this bottom right screenshot, this is from the Goals tab, and we'll take a look at that. This is showing us information for the baseline and current time period of our property. And then this data has gaps or overlaps alert. This is going to be on the Meters tab, and we'll take another look at that as well. So that's just sort of a snapshot of what we'll be seeing in Portfolio Manager. There is a feature in Portfolio Manager that could be very useful to people, and it's called the Data Quality Checker. And you can run this for one property at a time. So it's not going to give you issues across your portfolio, but it will, if you have one property that you're focusing on one day, you can run this checker for one time period. Say you want to check your 2013 data for a property. You come into Portfolio Manager, click Check Data Quality, and it will give you back either a green check mark saying there's nothing wrong with the data, you're all set, or a list of a couple things that it found. The last thing we're going to see in Portfolio Manager is how to pull reports from the Reporting tab and how to get those reports to include what are called energy use alerts or space alerts, and those will actually give you more insight on the property and what might be missing and what might be causing you to not calculate an energy use intensity for a specific time period.
Hi, can I interrupt? This is Monica Watkins. I have a quick
yeah,
question.
Definitely.
All right, so we have a tool already. It's called Energy Cap. So all of our properties and most of our data, it resides in Energy Cap.
Yep.
Then we have individual spreadsheets from the utility analyst I spoke of before, and now the Portfolio Manager. Is there a way to import data from the other two into Portfolio Manager?
There is a way to upload spreadsheets into Portfolio Manager. There might also be a way, I believe Energy Cap might have a link between their software and Portfolio Manager to upload some some property information, some meter entries.
Okay.
So
is that something that I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say there is a way to get that all in there relatively easily. You wouldn't have to go through and enter every bill manually or enter every property at the same time or at once. So I guess the short answer is yes. There are multiple ways to get all this data, all the data into Portfolio Manager. The long answer might be, what are the options and what makes the most sense with what you have. And we can definitely take a look at that with you offline probably, or in a separate data call where we sort of take what you have and come up with the best way to get it in there and the best way to analyze it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So just a couple more slides here, and then we'll take a look at Portfolio Manager. These are the steps to creating a report within Portfolio Manager. We don't need to focus on that for too long. And then the last thing here is just you can create your own report in Portfolio Manager, and there's a list of close to 1,000 metrics that you can include in there. We can focus on a few that might be useful for people here. And yeah, this is what it looks like when you go to create your own template. And then once we have all the data in there, the two places that we're going to focus on correcting mistakes or making edits are in this on the Details tab, which you'll see on a properties portfolio here, and then the Meters tab, which lists all of your energy meters. The Details tab is where you input things like square footage, units, bedrooms. So there could be issues with that depending on what you're seeing in Portfolio Manager.
And just really quick before we jump into that, I just got a question through the questions pane on your go-to webinar from Andrew West that asks, can I build a property or building attributes report here? And the answer is yes. The custom reporting function of Portfolio Manager is actually fairly comprehensive, so it should be good for whichever attributes you're looking to track across your portfolio. And I think we'll get into a live demonstration of that later, so hopefully that'll answer some of the questions you have.
Yep, and you can, so the reason, I guess the main reason why that list of metrics gets up to 1,000 is because you can put in every single attribute for every single space type, and there's 80 space types in Portfolio Manager. So there's a way to search for the multifamily property, or sorry, the multifamily space attributes, and you can decide to include all those. So things like bedrooms, units, and then you can pull a report and see those numbers for each property in your portfolio. So yeah, that's a good question. Let's log in here quickly. For those of you that don't have an account yet, we can send around the link to basically the link that I'm at here, and then you'd use this sign up button here. It's very, very fast and easy. All you need is an email address, basically. This is a test account that Tyler and I have made. There are a number of properties in here that will illustrate some of the issues that we wanted to go through. So why don't we start with one property and take an example. Let's start with, this is a pretty simple issue. So what I was showing before the slides was this goals tab, and I think this is a great place to come to sort of get a quick summary of your property. We're actually just having a thunderstorm here. I'm not sure if people can hear that, but you can get things like Energy Star score, source UI, energy cost, and it'll compare the baseline that you've either selected or the first 12 months of data that you have in Portfolio Manager to the current time period, the most recent 12 months of data that you have in Portfolio Manager, and you can see them side by side. This link here is what I was referring to before. If we click this, it's basically telling us the property use for this building does not have 12 full months of gross floor area. So if an alert that you're seeing is referring to gross floor area or any property use details, we're going to then come to this Details tab. And I'm going to see here that I only input this floor area starting in 2013, but my data goes all the way back to 2012. So that's the issue that I'm seeing. We won't go into editing those use details yet. I think it'll be most useful here if we jump into the reporting tab and take a look at what comes out of the reporting tab, as well as the list of alerts that we get. And again, as we're clicking through here, definitely feel free to stop us to look into any other buttons that I might not be clicking on in Portfolio Manager, or any other specific issues that you've seen in your account, and we can try to answer those as we go. The first report I'm going to run is called, actually, sorry, back up a second here. So this is the reporting tab. This is where you would come to basically get information out of Portfolio Manager once you've uploaded your buildings and your data. This Templeton reports table, it comes preloaded with the reports that have this green and white table without the orange arrow. Those are in everybody's account. These orange arrows are ones that we've created, and actually these are the reports that we share out to every partner once they have an account created. So the one we're going to start with is a pre-populated report called Energy Performance. And what we do, since we've never run this report, we're just going to come here and say Generate New Report. We want to run this. What 2 years do we want to look at, Tyler?
I think it was through December 2012 and through July 2014.
Okay. So Tyler and I uploaded some sample data here, so we want to try to make this make sense. And we're going to say we want to look at all properties. As a quick note, if we select multiple properties, that lets us go into this. It'll bring up a pop-up window for us, and we can use these filters. So all the properties that we have in this account are multifamily housing. If you had an account with some office buildings and some multifamily housing, but you only wanted to run a report for multifamily housing, you could come in here and select that button. That didn't take any of our 6 away, so that doesn't do much here. But you can also filter by region. So if we wanted to do something like, let's only look at properties in the Mid-Atlantic, we could do something where we said DC and Virginia. For this test, we're going to look at everything. I'm going to come back here and click all.
And just really quick before you finish this page,
Sure.
if I could jump in.
Yeah.
Portfolio Manager sets a baseline and current date for every property that you enter in, and it may or may not be the same as what baseline or current date you'd like to select for the Better Buildings job. Right. So while there are some options to say compare current year, compare baseline year, those will sort of take you to the earliest and latest times when you have valid square footage and energy data. So I think we recommend using the compare 2 years option here and selecting your baseline and the period you'd like to test manually.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so let's generate this. Let's see what we can get. So when we hit generate, it tells us our report is being generated. Oh, and that was a fast one. So we can come in here and say, what do you think, should we download it?
Sure.
Yeah. So let's download current report. You can click view, which lets you view it in the internet browser, but it's a little harder to follow, and you can't manipulate any of the data if you wanted to sort or move some stuff around. So what I'm going to do now is, there a way for me to move this? There we go. I am going to put the filters on here just to help us out. So what we're getting in this energy performance report is basically a list of all buildings, 2 time periods for each building, December 2012, July 2014, and then if we scroll over to the right, we get things like square footage, site and source EUI, weather normalized and adjusted site and source EUI, and then energy costs. So the main reason we wanted to pull this is just to show that we have a lot of non-availables. The properties that we created were not did not have great data, and yeah. So basically, we can go back into Portfolio Manager and try to figure out what's causing the issue, and then we can run the report again and hopefully get values for all these time periods. The other report that could be useful, other than creating your own template, there's a stock report called Energy Star Certification Status. If we generate that for the same time period, we will get a list of the alerts, the energy use alerts and the space, or sorry, the space alerts and energy use alerts. So those will help us pinpoint for each property what's actually causing Portfolio Manager to not generate an EUI. Let's take a look at that one quickly. So I guess while we're looking at this, has anybody online used the reporting tool at all, or have any questions so far? If not, that's all right. We can keep moving. So this report is really focused on Energy Star scores and Energy Star certification. And the 2 columns that we're looking at, or that we wanted to focus on, are these 2, energy alerts and property use detail alerts. Okay, I was saying it backwards. So let's take this first property, for example. This was MF test, and our alert is saying that. So Portfolio Manager is going to give you all of the alerts that it found for that time period. Some of them don't. Some of them are not necessarily a bad thing or going to prevent you from getting an energy use intensity value. So like this first one says most recent bill is more than 120 days old. That's not really an issue. That's just saying that you can't apply for Energy Star certification because you haven't updated your data within the past 4 months yet. The second one here is one that we would want to go back and look into. One or more meters has gaps between bills. And then this last one is also not an issue. It's saying that, well, it's saying that the meters for the property do not represent the total energy use at the property. So in our webinar last week, we looked at how to set up a metering configuration and what to input if you only had common area data or some combination of common area data and tenant heating maybe, or basically how to set up a metering configuration so that you're accurately representing your energy usage. So this one's telling us that we couldn't apply for Energy Star certification because we don't have whole building data yet. The property use alerts are going to be more focused on our inputs like gross floor area and number of bedrooms and number of units in the multifamily property. This one does include the gaps between bills here, but you'll also see here that it says use details include one or more default values. That's also not going to be a huge issue for the Better Buildings Challenge. That's focused on Energy Star certification. You wouldn't be able to apply if you had default values. So rather than go through all of these, why don't we click through the buildings in Portfolio Manager, and if people don't have questions, we can sort of go through how we would go about fixing some of the issues. Does anybody have questions on what we've gone through so far, or have any separate questions?
I know, Rick, you submitted a couple of questions through the questions pane, which is great, and I think we'll hopefully cover that as we review the individual buildings. So we'll sort of address that as we go.
What were the questions?
Rick is looking to upload data via spreadsheet to a meter on one of his properties and edit some dates as well. So we should be able to cover that, I think, as we go.
Okay.
And for everyone else, if you'd like to interrupt and ask a question on the phone or submit a question to the questions pane on GoToWebinar, both of those will work.
Okay, great. So why don't we look at adding a spreadsheet? Is the question referring to an individual meter?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Okay. So why don't we take this 2013 data incomplete example. So this property, if we come to the goals tab here, we can see that we have data all the way back to, we have complete 2010 data, but Portfolio Manager is telling us that our most recent 12 months is May 2013. So what we want to do here, actually this might be a good example for both reasons. From the meters tab, we can click on, this only has one meter, but if we had a list of several meters here, we could click the link for the meter that said it had an alert. And Portfolio Manager automatically loads with the most recent year showing. So instead of showing, if you have 5 years of data, instead of showing 60 rows, it's just going to keep it cleaner and easier to sort of understand what's in there by showing you 12 a maximum of 12 automatically. So what we're seeing here is we have five builds so far in 2014. Instead of going through and looking at each start date and end date, I can actually come here. So sorry, back up. We know that we have a gap or overlap because we saw that alert on the meters tab. And instead of trying to figure it out with the start and end date, I can actually come here and hit Save Bills without even making an edit. And it says one or more of your meters contains gaps and or overlaps. I can hit Continue. Oh, and it didn't actually show me where it was. There we go. So if I say Show All Years, it'll then show me my gap is between June and July of 2013. So we can scroll down, and it'll call it out for us. What we can do here, basically what we need to do is add an entry in between these two. So I'll do that, and then we can use the spreadsheet to, so if I needed to add one historical month, I could come here and say, I don't have June 1st to, was it June 1st or June 2nd? I think it's June 2nd. Cool. And we'll say that was, I don't know, 34,000. Oh, actually, this is a lot of usage. Let's say it was 134. And the cost was granted. So we can hit Save there. And we can come back up here and say Show All Years and just make sure there's no alerts. When we scroll through, nothing highlighted. So our 2013 data looks good. And then the next question, I believe, was related to how can you add multiple entries at the same time using spreadsheets. So there's two answers to that. One is from an individual meter. You can add multiple monthly entries right from this page using a spreadsheet. So I clicked this link here. You can upload an Excel spreadsheet with your basic bill information. So I click that link. It automatically loads this spreadsheet. Did that load? Yes. So from here, this can hit. I mean, you can put in multiple years of data in here. You can put. I don't even think there's a maximum on the number of months you can put in here. So if you had data for your properties back to 2000 in a spreadsheet, you could copy them over into this format. It's important to note that the format does need to be the same. So if you look in this, some of our versions of Excel might be different, but the format for the start date is a date format, end date is date, usage is general, so that can be a number, or so you want to make sure that you have the format's the same. We know that this meter ends on July 1st, 2014. Let's put in, I don't know, 2 more. We have 2 more months of data. I guess we can go all the way to October 1st. Let's put just some placeholders in here. Last thing we need to do here is say that whether what we're entering is a estimate or a real value. And the way that they ask that question is a little tricky. So they're saying estimated value, and we need to tell them that that's false. This is a real input.
So if you don't enter anything into, I think, any of these fields, Portfolio Manager won't recognize that the spreadsheet is valid, and I don't think it'll update any of them. So it's important to get those all right before you submit.
Right. The one that it'll allow you to leave out is cost. But, right, what Tyler was saying is true, that all these values need to be in there, and they do need to be in the same format as when you downloaded the spreadsheet. So with that, I'm going to save this.
Monica Watkins again. Does the portfolio manager have the ability to do sub-metering as well?
What do you mean by sub-metering, I guess, is the question.
So
you have a main meter, and then there's some meters coming off of that you don't want to include in the property?
No, that we do want to include.
That you do want to include. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. So what you would do then, do you have separate meters and you have data for all of the meters?
Yes.
So you could put those all in separately, or you could sum them all together outside of Portfolio Manager if you just wanted to put one in. But if you did want to put them all in,
but we don't want to double count. So we want to put the master meter in, and then we want to put the sub-metering in.
Okay, great. Yep, that was what I was looking for, I guess. So the what you would do there then, if you had both the master meter and all the sub-meters in, you would have a long list of meters here. Then you would come to this Meters for Performance Metrics section and click View Edit Configuration. And what you'd want to do here is say, check the boxes for the meters that should be included in the energy metrics. So you would want to make sure that if the master meter was clicked, then the sub-meters wouldn't be checked. Or you could do it the other way around. If all of the sub-meters added to the total, you could uncheck the master meter. That way you're only counting, Portfolio Manager is only going to include in your totals what you tell it to here.
Okay.
So that's a good question.
All right, good. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, let's try to start over there. Which one were we in, Tyler? Do you remember? 2015, did it? Yeah. So we're going to come back to this Meters tab. Going to download. Let's get this out of the way here. So we're going to tell it, we're going to say choose file. So we're going to upload that spreadsheet. And it's telling us that I didn't even notice that. I put in the wrong day here. So it actually lets me, right from here, I'm allowed to click into that cell, change it to August 1st, and then hit Save Bills again. And now I have data complete through August. When I go back to, so actually, one important note from here is, once you click this upload button for the spreadsheet, you need to also remember to hit Save Bills here. If you don't hit Save Bills and you go back to your property, you'll say, I uploaded that already. Why didn't that work? This upload button basically just puts it on this page, and then saving the bills actually saves it to your property. So we can come back here. We can go to the Goals tab, and we can see that our source UI has been updated here. So, yeah, did that, I guess, answer our two questions there?
Cool. Rick, and maybe Kelly is on now. Does that answer your question, or is there something else we should go into? Or I guess you're all talking about it.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep, I just tried it again on my end, and I did not enter in that last column, where we needed to put it as false, the estimated value. So that worked for me this time. So that's great. That'll help a lot. Thank you.
Cool.
Can I ask one other question? I had sent this in, and maybe you'd want to cover it later, but our info from WeGoWise that was uploaded, there are some meters that have a gap in the data, so it's showing, you know, from July 1, and then the next entry shows July 17th. And I tried to go in and edit that myself, but it will not let me do that. So is that something that when you have a third party uploading the data on the back end that they actually have to go in and adjust that?
That might have to do with your with the sharing privileges between your account and WeGoWise. Were you the one that created the property and then you shared it with them, or was it the other way around?
It was the other way around.
Okay.
So I'll follow up with Joe on that then.
Yep. So I think they have to give you. We can take a quick look at the sharing tab if you want to. I think they'll probably. Actually, we haven't shared any properties from this one, so we can't see that. But they should understand, yeah, and they basically just have to give you access to edit the meters.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And we actually have another question over here from William Bryant. Can you establish an Energy Star score with just electric utility data, and how many months are required to establish a score? So I guess I don't think we'll need too much of a portfolio manager demo on this. So the requirements for the Energy Star score are that you have whole building energy data for your property for 12 months. And the Energy Star certification wants to remain current, so that period has to end. I believe it's in the last 4 months, in the last 120 days.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to have a 12-month period of all of the energy used at your property in the last 4 months. So if your property only uses electricity, then you only need 1 meter for electricity. But if the property uses electricity as well as natural gas or fuel oil, then those should all also be included. Does that answer your question, William? All right. Well, if anyone else wants to continue to ask questions, again, on the phone or over GoToWebinar, we appreciate it. And otherwise, I guess we'll move to the other individual properties.
I have a question about the data. Does Portfolio Manager provide trending reports for the data? Because right now I download it out of our Energy Cap system and manipulate it in Excel.
So trending, I guess you can. So I guess unfortunately the Portfolio Manager will show you your source EUI trend. This is on the properties profile page. So you can get this basic trend for a property. Are you referring more to like the monthly kilowatt-hour values?
Right.
So it doesn't have a specific report for that, but there is a way to get that out, get the individual meter readings out. You can, and it sounds like you might already have this in the software that you have. But I could, actually, I might be on the wrong page here. Tyler, do you remember how to download a meter?
I think.
Or do you have to download the whole? I guess you have to download the whole property.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can come to this download property to Excel option, and I'm thinking this might be similar to what you can get out of your software. But what it allows you to do is see the uses, the use details. So that's gross floor area, things like that. However many meters you have will be listed here, and then you can come see the kilowatt-hour values here. So I guess in terms of a total property energy use trend, the best thing or the one spot you can check is on this property summary tab. The other option, so from this reporting tab, you can only pull 2 time periods, but what you could do is pull multiple reports and change the time period. So let's say you wanted to look at one multifamily property. You wanted to see how the total kilowatt hours was changing by quarter in the past 2 years. So that's 8 time periods, and you wanted to see, I guess you could either create your own template here to see individual fuel uses. So you could get a kilowatt hour total, you could get a natural gas therm total, you could get a fuel oil gallons total. But what you would eventually have to do is run the report, either the custom report or one of these energy performance reports, run that multiple times to get however many time periods you wanted, and then combine those. So it is a little bit more work to get some of the property metrics to get some of those to trend, but it is possible. And Portfolio Manager is really good for sort of calculating whole building energy metrics that might be difficult to do outside of Portfolio Manager on your own. So definitely useful to use this reporting tool if you have something you wanted to see.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, this is William Bryan. I had entered that question because I noticed on your sample that you didn't have any water data, but you still got a score. So I guess that sample's just not. I guess that's just a sample, right?
Okay, so that actually is a good question. You can get an Energy Star score, and you can get Energy Star certification without entering any water information. So the Energy Star score and the EUI value that we're looking at is I guess, independent of how much water data you have in Portfolio Manager. You can use Portfolio Manager to track water metrics, and you can include. So basically, where we are here on this page, there is a water performance report. So if you had water data in here for all of your properties, you can compare water use intensity, so how many gallons of water your property is using per square foot, or total gallons of water if you wanted to use that as a metric instead. You can compare all of your properties' water usage. So that's a good question and a good. We hadn't really talked about water yet in these presentations, but Portfolio Manager has just as much capability to track water and help you report on water as energy. But energy is the only one required.
What I've done, I've entered a simple building which was a mid-rise, and I entered all the electric, the water, and the gas for a 12-month period. Mm-hmm. And I get a score of 3, and I was really disappointed in that. I was just wondering, how am I going to improve that score?
Yeah, that's a sort of a.
And this is all real-time data from the utility company, so
yeah.
I was kind of going, okay, now what do I do? I got a score of 3. What do I continue to add more of these utilities, and will the score improve with a better comparison, or what is it comparing it to?
That's a good question too. Tyler, you want to talk about the multifamily score a bit?
Sure. So the multifamily score, the idea of the score, I guess, is that it is it's a percentile score of the performance of multifamily buildings in the United States. So we used to survey from, EPA used to survey from Fannie Mae to use sort of the sample population to determine what the median population would be. So I guess the first thing is how the score works generally is it takes the characteristics of your building and sort of calculates what a median performing building with those characteristics in the United States would use in terms of energy. And then it compares that number to the energy total that you put in. So I guess the important thing to remember is that it has to be whole building energy data. So we actually have had a couple of partners with a different problem that they keep entering scores, or they keep entering properties with scores of 100, and that's often because they haven't put common area energy data So I guess the main requirement is that the energy data that Portfolio Manager is reading is whole building and that nothing is duplicated. So we earlier talked about sub-metering and how you could include and exclude certain meters from the total energy count for the building. So if you have, for instance, in your building, a sort of a whole building meter for electricity as well as tenant meters, then you might be double counting some energy, which would make the score lower because it would indicate that your property is using more energy for the same performance.
So that the one property that you do have in Portfolio Manager that we're talking about, that might be a good sort of a good follow-up to this call, is we can take a more detailed look at that and maybe figure out what you have input into Portfolio Manager. Sometimes the units might be off, or sometimes there might be maybe one digit off, so you have 1 kilowatt-hour entry that's 1 million instead of 100,000, something like that. But I think that might be a good one for us to follow up on with you directly, and we can take a closer look at.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Yep. Thanks for the question. So we are coming up on 1 o'clock here. If people want to stay on the line, we can leave the session open for a little bit, but definitely feel free to hop off if you need to. And I think with that we'll end our demo and end our